Yo, what's up? How you doing? It's 1 a.m. right now as I'm recording. I I'm pretty fired up. I got a good subject this week. It's a lot better than Liam Neeson pissing himself, honestly. I'm I'm looking back on that episode and regretting it a little. That's a bad first episode to just do a guy who pissed his pants a couple times. It is pretty funny though. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I want to start off with apologizing to British people. I kind of shit on them kind of hard in the first episode. And this episode will be on my favorite Englishman, my favorite guy, my favorite athlete. This guy's the fucking man. Jamie Vardy, working class hero. This guy rules. Just to start off, I just want to say this is going to be a soccer-heavy podcast. If you don't like soccer, just give this a listen. I promise you'll like soccer more after listening to this episode. I'll explain some things. I'll explain why it's cool. I think you'll understand why it's such a communal thing over in Europe and how the U.S. is kind of fucking up by not following their model. Yeah, and even if you don't like sports, if you don't like sports in general, I think his story is so cool that you will enjoy this episode anyway. This is my favorite team. This is my favorite player because the story is just incredible. I mean, I didn't like soccer at all until around 2016, which was their year that they won the Premier League, which is considered by most the best league in the world. There's some arguments that the Bundesliga is better, the German first league, or La Liga, the first Spanish league, but I would say you're a dumbass. I think the Premier League is so much better. It's a lot more competitive. There aren't like two super teams. Anyway, I'm getting too soccery right now. So anyway, let me start off with explaining relegation, promotion, and points. So in European soccer leagues, along with South American, and I know the Mexican League does this as well, at least in the Premier League, so there's 19 teams in the league. The bottom 3 teams move down to the second division, and the top 3 teams of the second division move up to the first division. And that's based on your points. So if you win a game, you get 3 points. If you draw or tie the game, you get 1 point. If you lose the game, you get 0 points. So whoever has the most points wins the league. Whoever has the least points gets sent down. And then whoever had the most points in the second division gets promoted. I didn't understand this when I first got into soccer. And I remember talking to my uncle Christian, who's from Germany. And I was asking him who his favorite team is, and he was saying SV Waldhof Mannheim. And I was like, I've never heard of this team. Do they play in the Bundesliga? And he was like, no, they play in the third division. And I thought he was just being like a jackass. Like, I thought he was saying like the Orlando Solar Bears are his favorite hockey team, or the Camden River Sharks are his favorite baseball team. Like, I didn't understand what this meant. I was like, yeah, but like, who's your favorite team? Is it Borussia Dortmund or is it Bayern Munich? And he was like, SV Waldhof Mannheim. Like, you ride for your teams, man. Like, I don't care if your local team is 4th division, 5th division. I mean, just this past week, an 8th division team played Tottenham Hotspur, and there was this picture on Twitter that went super viral of this guy taking a picture from his balcony across from the Marine FC, the 8th division English team of Gareth Bale, who was on one of the best teams of all time, the Real Madrids of the early 2010s. It's crazy. Anyway, so yeah, for international soccer, you really ride for your team no matter what division they're in, and you always hold out hope that they could be in the top division. I mean, there's teams that have won the European Championship, and they're in the second or third division of their own country. So It's weird. It's also a very cool system. I like that there's no incentive to lose. I kind of hate how teams just throw it so they can get the first pick in American sports. I like that there's this system of you always got to win to try to stay in your top league. All right, we got that out of the way. This is where my dude, Jamie fucking Vardy, steps in. So my man started in 8th Division football or soccer. I'm going to call it football from now on just because let's pretend we're English right now. I'm talking about my favorite Englishman, Jamie Vardy. Fucking rules. Started in 8th Division football. Last year, the top scorer in the top league in the world. Crazy story. I'm hoping my boy Mark Braswell is the future Jamie Vardy. He's playing in 3rd Division right now, and I hope he gets his 1st Division spot and his top scorer in the top league one day. So anyway, when Jamie Vardy was 16 in 2002, he got released by his boyhood club, his favorite team, Sheffield Wednesday, which is a stupid fucking name anyway. I'm glad he got released. Who names their team Wednesday? Fucking jerk-offs. Anyway, he got released from the team for being too small, and a month later he hit a massive growth spurt where he grew 7 inches. So, fuck you, Sheffield Wednesday, you jerk-offs. That one definitely still hurts too. I saw an interview with him and he said, I'll put out me mind. Tries not to think about it. After being released from Sheffield Wednesday's youth team, he joins the local reserve / the youth team of an 8th Division team in his town where his mom lives. And can't remember the name of the team, but they're called the Steels for some reason. I think it's like a factor, like a team near a factory or something. So he joins that team in 2003, plays for them. In 2004, he gets into a pub brawl. He fights somebody, and he's forced to wear an ankle monitor during that season. And during away games, he has to be subbed off, and he said he would hop the fence and hop into his mom's car after games, and they'd have to race home, and he'd have to be home by curfew or else he was breaking his probation. That's why I love this guy so much. He's working class. He's kind of white trash. He's playing through an ankle monitor in the 8th Division, and now he's the top scorer in Europe's best league. I mean, the story is nuts already. So anyway, moves on. He doesn't start on the actual 8th Division team. He's just playing for a shitty 8th Division youth team, not even the starting team. He's working full-time. He works at, what the hell does this guy do again? I wrote it down. It was fucking weird. He made like molds. Made molds for, here it is. So he works full-time while playing, making splints for disabled people, which he said was backbreaking. He said he spent all day hovering over an oven and making these molds. Sorry, I know that probably sounded weird. I feel like I petered off for a second. I took a break from recording because I needed to grab my phone because I had a lot of information on my phone because there's so much. I'm just on page 2 of information now. I have 2 more pages to go, and then I have a bunch of stuff that I couldn't write down that I just screenshot on my phone. So anyway, he worked full-time as a technician, making splints for disabled people, which he said was backbreaking. In 2007, he gets his start for the 8th Division team called Steels. And I just want to throw in there that the max capacity for the Steel Stadium was 3,500. Keep that in mind, because I'll just say it now. The team he plays for now, they get around 32,000 people every single game. Well, pre-COVID, obviously, but pre-COVID, they would average around 32,000 people per game. This place, max capacity, 3,500. That's how far this man has come. Right now, currently, he makes around 140 grand a week. Back then, he was making 30 British pounds a week for playing on this 8th division team with 3,500 max capacity while working full time, making splints for disabled people. So 2007, when he gets called up to start for this 8th division team, he immediately balls out super hard. He is crushing it, and he gets his 8th division team promoted. That's the beginning of a pattern. You'll see that start to happen. So 2011, somebody on Fleetwood Town FC recognizes this kid's incredible talent. He got onto this team in 2007, immediately gets them promoted. He's wicked fast. He's got a crazy shot. He spins defenders into pretzels. They sign him. They're a 5th division team, Fleetwood Mac Town FC. His first season with the team, he scores 34 goals in 40 games, which is basically like Alexander Ovechkin numbers. I mean, that's like ridiculous amount of goals. 34 goals in 40 games. He gets this team promoted from the 5th to the 4th division. That's where Leicester FC comes calling. Leicester City FC. I got the hat on right now. My Leicester City Foxes. The team I ride for, because the story is so incredible. So in 2012, the year after he gets signed by Fleetwood Mac Town FC, Leicester City comes calling. And he signs with them. He has a record fee for a non-league footballer, they call. So the top 3 divisions, I believe it is, are part of the English Football League or whatever. That's like the prestigious English leagues. He was below that. And it was a record signing for somebody in a lower division, but Leicester City FC saw the talent. They saw that this kid was wicked fast, that he played with a crazy amount of heart. He still does to this day. The dude never stops running when he's on the pitch. So they call him. Doesn't go great his first season. It does not go well at all. He only has 5 goals in 29 games. He went from scoring 34 in 40 to 5 goals in 29. And he actually goes to the manager of Leicester City and the GM and says, I think you should send me back to Fleetwood FC. I'm not good enough for 2nd division. You know, I got dropped by Sheffield Wednesday. I try to keep it out my mind, but I'm not good enough for 2nd division football. Now he's the top scorer. I mean, when I read this, I was like, that's crazy. That in 2013, he was like, I'm not good enough, and now he is the best scorer in the best league in the world. It's nuts. The manager actually sits him down. I saw this in a YouTube video and says, listen, brought you here for a reason. You are good enough for 2nd division football. We're not sending you back to Fleetwood Mac FC. You're staying here. The next season, he balls out. He goes hard. He's an incredible striker. And they win the 2nd division. They're champions of the 2nd division. And he gets Leicester City FC up to the Premier League. He gets this team promoted. That's his 3rd team that he comes to, and he gets them promoted. Quite the pattern here. My man is improving teams tremendously. All right, so 2013, 2014, they win second division, Premier League. 2014, 2015, they're in the Premier League. They're not doing great. Jamie Vardy shows some promise. He's a fast striker. He's got some good scoring ability. Doesn't score that many goals, but he looks good. Like, he's on the cusp of being good, but he's not there yet. Leicester City is not good either. Leicester City is bottom of the table for a majority of the season. And then in their last 9 games, they pull out 7 wins, which is incredible for a team that stinks in the Premier League. And they finished 14th out of 19th, amazingly. Now, at the end of that season, there is some controversy, and Leicester City is known as a shameful club. 3 Leicester City players get in trouble for a video being leaked of them having an orgy in Thailand. One of the players calls one of the women a racial slur and degrades her in the video. And one of the players is the coach's son. And the coach is already in some hot water, the coach of Leicester City, because he told a Leicester City fan during that season that he should fuck off and die. He goes after reporters. He apparently throttled an opposition player on the touchline. I don't know what that means. That's too British language for me. So those 3 players that were in the Thailand orgy get fired, and the coach gets fired. Now, 2015 to 2016 is a crazy year. A crazy year. They bring in Claudio Ranieri as their new head coach after the disgrace that happened with this Thailand nonsense, and it's the coach's son and doesn't look good on the team, so they kind of clear house. They fire the coach. They fire these players that were in the Thai orgy. Claudio Ranieri, he is not a popular signing for manager of Leicester City FC. One of the most famous Leicester players ever is this guy, Gary Lineker. He immediately tweets out, "Really? Claudio Ranieri?" Not popular. Not popular. Jose Mourinho, who is a very famous football manager, famously calls him a loser and Tinkerman. Tinkerman is because he tinkers with lineups too much and it ends up ruining his team's chemistry, and they don't do well. He had coached 14 different clubs and was seen as massively declining before being signed by the team. Right before he coached Leicester City, he coached the Greek national team, who got him fired because they lost to the Faroe Islands. I've never heard of the Faroe Islands before doing this research for this podcast. So, yeah, guy's not a popular signing. The most famous player for Leicester ever is saying, "Who is this guy?" Jose Mourinho, who won the league with Chelsea the year before, calls him a loser, calls him Tinkerman. And, they narrowly escaped relegation. They almost went back to the second division. They're a lowly club. There's really no hope. And they sign a group of basically misfit toys. Nobody knows who 90% of their players are. They sign an unknown player who, this is funny to say, from the third division, named N'Golo Kante. And N'Golo Kante now is considered one of the best midfielders in the world. In FIFA, I think he's like 88 overall, which is crazy for a midfielder. Back then, he played in the second and third division of the French leagues. He must have been so good in the second and third division. This guy shuts down the best players in the world. This guy is all over the pitch. And he played in the second and third divisions. Incredible. They sign him. They sign another guy from the French second division named Riyad Mahrez, who is this speedy right winger who no one's ever heard of. He's completely unknown. Their starting 11 is worth $22 million in total this season. Just for context, one player on Manchester City named Kevin De Bruyne is worth $55 million. So this entire team, this entire starting team for Leicester City is worth less than one player on one of the big teams. Vegas odds for winning the Premier League for Leicester City are 5,000 to 1. 5,000 to 1. So if you put $1 down on them, it would have been $5,000. This story is so fucking crazy. So the season gets started. They start off pretty good. They're not losing any games. They don't lose any of their first 8. They get wins and draws, but it's against kind of weak teams. It's like Stoke City, Bournemouth, Tottenham Hotspur, small clubs, you know. But in their 5th game, they play Arsenal, who are a pretty good team at the time. Now they're pretty shiza, but back then, Arsenal was great, and they walloped Leicester City 5-2. Season seemed over, but nah. The boys went on a roll after this. My boy Jamie Vardy sets the record for scoring streak. This man, less than 10 years ago, was being paid $30 a week. What year? What? Hold on. I need to read that again. What year was it that he was being paid less than $30 a week? 2007. We're in 2016 now. So 9 years ago, this man was being paid £30 a week, playing for an 8th division team. Breaks the record after an off year, after a year where he's maybe on the cusp of being good, but nobody bats an eye. He scores in 11 straight games, which is crazy for soccer. And Martin Tyler, one of the great voices in sports, has a masterful call. He goes, "It's 11 for Jamie Vardy." And this is one of my favorite celebrations ever. After he scores his 11th to break the record, he's running down the side of the field and pointing at his chest and like jamming his finger into his own chest, and he's saying, "It's me, it's fucking me." You see, they play it in slow motion, and Jamie Vardy screaming, "It's me, it's fucking me," which rules. God, I fucking love this story so much. I'm so fired up. Like, I really should be in bed right now. It's almost 2 a.m., but I did all these notes. I did all this research. You know, I had to do this episode. I was too fired up. So, yeah, after that, they go on an absolute roll. So, they're going on a roll on the final day of the season. Leicester is 1 point ahead of Tottenham Hotspur to win the league on the final day. But Tottenham Hotspur have a game in hand against Chelsea. Now, I don't know if you remember me saying before, but Jose Mourinho kind of bullied our boy Claudio Ranieri and would call him a loser, would call him taker man. Well, bitch ass Jose Mourinho, he gets himself fired after taking over the job at Chelsea and calling Ranieri a loser. His team completely implodes this year. He gets his ass fired. Guess who Tottenham play on the last day? A Jose-less Chelsea. Jose loses the job to Chelsea, and Chelsea could win it for Leicester City. I love how full circle this story is. So Chelsea, no reason to win this game. It seems like Tottenham Hotspur are probably going to secure the win, probably not give the championship to them. In the 90th minute, the final minute of the game, Eden Hazard scores and wins the league for Leicester City FC. Their first league win in 123 years. Let's go! First league win in 132 years. I probably just said 123. I just flipped my paper over and it's 132. I know that for sure because I wrote that down. It's the first league win 132 years. Let's fucking go! It's their best ever finish. Their best ever finish was second in 1929. So this was a club, diehard fans, no success. God, you gotta love that. Bunch of people who die for their team and nothing for 132 years until my boy Jamie Vardy comes and wins the championship for them. Gotta love that. God, he went from shit paychecks and works his way up. God, you gotta love that. Bunch of misfit players, bunch of rejects, bunch of lower division guys nobody ever heard of. I mean, God, they got a bunch of these players for free. I mean, teams usually when you sign a player from another team, you get you have to pay the team a fee to like get that player. Almost their entire team was free. I mean, a bunch of them were rejected. Danny Drinkwater, who real name Drinkwater is his last name, which I like. I like to drink a lot of water. He was released by Manchester United after 13 years at the club without even playing a game for them. He was on Manchester United for 13 years, never touched the pitch at Old Trafford. Started for Leicester City FC, won the league. Who else? Robert Huth, cast away by Chelsea early in his career, started for them, won the league. Christian Fuchs, rejected by Schalke, came, won the league with Leicester City FC. Loser Claudio Ranieri wins the league. And star striker Jamie Vardy does it again. My man just does it again. He can't stop winning. I love it. I love this story so much. He was 23 years old playing for a shitty reserve team in the 8th division of British football. And now he's the best scorer. He's so fucking good. If you watch Leicester right now, the man cannot stop scoring. The man scores in every single game. It's crazy. And he's 33 years old. It's incredible. It's a crazy story. Last year he was the top scorer in the league, working full-time, playing 8th division football. He would do back-breaking work all day, not even get to go home. He'd have to go suit up and play his shitty 8th division football with an ankle monitor. He's so nuts. Oh my God, what a king. Okay, so one of the most wild things about Jamie Vardy is the man's diet. I can't do a podcast about Jamie Vardy and not talk about his diet. His diet is fucking nuts. It defies all logic. So the night before the match, he likes to drink a bunch of wine. He gets a little tipsy, so he calms the nerves so he can get some good sleep before the match. He says he wakes up and immediately crushes a Red Bull. And he says it's gone in 30 seconds or less. So absolutely houses the Red Bull. 11:30 a.m. He has a ham and cheese omelet. Then after that, he throws in a dip. He says he likes snus or SNUS. I'm sorry, I don't dip. I don't know if it's called snus or SNUS. He dips, packs a fat lip, and then chugs another Red Bull after that. After that Red Bull, with about an hour and a half left before the game, he crushes a double espresso, and then 30 minutes before the game, he crushes another Red Bull. I don't even know if he's good at soccer. He's just so goddamn out of his mind from caffeine that he just can't stop scoring. I mean, everybody must be moving in slow motion to him. He's on fucking 5 billion milligrams of caffeine every game. God damn. He goes so hard. Man, gives me so much hope. God damn. I love this story so much. 2016, the impossible year. Jamie Vardy, the impossible player. Let's go. God damn. One thing I feel like I didn't touch on, and it might have been confusing because I might have said it earlier, but going back to Claudio Ranieri, the rejected coach of this team that eventually won the Premier League. So in 2004, when our boy Jamie Vardy was playing through an ankle monitor during games and hopping the fence to hop in his mom's car so he could drive home quickly and make his state-mandated curfew and not break probation. 2004, Claudio Ranieri gets fired as the Chelsea coach, the team that eventually wins Leicester championship by beating Tottenham, because if Tottenham either drew or won that game, Tottenham would have been the champions of the Premier League, but Chelsea beat them after firing Jose Mourinho. So in 2004, Claudio Ranieri is the coach. He loses to a very weak Monaco team in the European Championship, that's a whole other thing. So if you're the top three in the Premier League, you play in the Champions League, which is the European Championship. So top three of Premier League play top three of the French League, play top three of the Spanish League, play top three of the German League, etc. Claudio Ranieri gets fired in 2004. Jose Mourinho takes over in 2004 and famously calls him a loser. And then, he blows up Chelsea, and then they end up winning it for Claudio Ranieri. So who's the fucking loser now, Mourinho? Anyway, so 2016, when Leicester won the league, because they were so bad and because they had to fire all those kids for being in that orgy and fired the coach, and Jamie Vardy hadn't come into his own yet, they had 5,000 to 1 odds to win the league. 5,000 to 1. That's crazy. So if you put $1 down on them, you would have won $5,000. Only one guy famously won $20,000 on it. This guy Lee Herbert, he put $5 down on his hometown Foxes to win, and he won $20,000. And he said he bought the missus a car and went on a big holiday, which, good for him, man. What a king. Buy the missus a car. I love that. You gotta love that. And then up until that point, only 5 total teams had won since 1992. So it was just the teams with a shit ton of money had won the league over and over and over again. And again, Leicester only had $22 million in their starting 11, and there's single players who make $50 million. in British soccer. So, I mean, it's an incredible story. Most of that league winning team disbanded, except for Jamie Vardy. He stuck with Leicester, and he famously said, they saw something in me when I didn't see anything in myself. Tried to go back, didn't think he was good enough for second division. And they said, nah, we want you, man. We want you in here. And he took them to the top, and he's still with them to this day. He's still balling for Leicester City. And this man could play for, I mean, most teams in the world. He's an incredible striker now. I mean, he's the top scorer in the top league in the world. But unknown N'Golo Kante goes to Chelsea for $32 million. I think Leicester signed him for less than $10 million, and then they sell him for 32. And then that speedy winger that they got from the French second division, they got for less than $1 million. They sell him for $60 million to Manchester City. So these boys get some big paychecks, but not my man Jamie Vardy. He has heart. He loves his squad, his Leicester City squad, and he sticks it through. And Leicester's been good ever since 2016, and you got to attribute that with Vardy. I mean, they put the ball through to him. They kick it past the defenders, and he's so fast and has such a wicked shot that he scores in most games, and he keeps Leicester in it, even though, I mean, they still are a very cheap team. They have a lot of lads from around Leicester. They have a bunch of unknown guys that end up being great. Yeah, that's the story of a man who chugs Red Bulls. He has like 5 Red Bulls a day. Top scorer at 33 years old. At 23, he was playing for an 8th division team. Before that, he was playing with a ankle monitor. Incredible. I love it. I love it so much. That's my boy Jamie Vardy. Anyway, so if you want to see me do some stand-up, come check it out at Iron Oak Post in downtown Melbourne. If you're in the Melbourne area, do it every Tuesday night. I usually go up last so I can get the most stage time. You can see me there. Made in Supply. Check them out on Instagram. That's my buddy Jordan Morales. He's out there working. He's out there trying to start his own shirt brand. I see a Jamie Vardy light come up for him too. You know, right now he just started. Maybe he's playing 8th division football, but I think one day Made in Supply will be as big as Adidas. We'll see. I hope so, man. You want to see your friends make the come up. So yeah, check out Made in Supply. Come see me Tuesday night in Iron Oak Post. It's a great time. You can have a few brewskis. Yeah, man. Have a good one. Hope you enjoyed. Sorry if it was too soccery. I hope you enjoyed anyway.